And here to talk to me about that today is Dr. Harrington. Dr. Harrington, how are you this morning?
I'm well, thanks. Good to see you again, Eric. Good morning.
Good to see you as well. Dr. Harrington, we've had a climb in the past a couple weeks. Do you care to talk about that at all?
Yes, I would tell the community that we're in a different state now of affairs with COVID-19. We have had a sustained rise in cases now for at least 3 weeks. This is not going away, and unfortunately, it's only accelerating. We reported at our Board of Health meeting this past week 22 cases in the previous week, which was kind of an all-time high for us. In addition, since then, we've had some lagging test results come in, and so the count continues to climb a bit. And this parallels where the state is nationally. Things are rising, and in some cases, rising exponentially. I mean, we're in this fall winter surge that we feared, and in fact, currently the numbers in Colorado are even going a little bit worse than some of the state public health department projections.
And we've also had, unfortunately, another death due to COVID-19 here in Route County. What
Yeah, and
was
I
the
think
case there?
yeah, and when we see a death, I think there's a lot of messages to take out of it. We're obviously sorry for the loss of anybody's family member and an unnecessary death due to COVID-19. Uh, we know that there's a percentage of people who get COVID-19 who get critically ill and require hospitalization. We know there's a percentage of those people who then maybe have to be intubated. And we know that there's a percentage of those that then will die. And, if you're talking about a small percentage of 5 people, yeah, it's a small percentage. But now that our community incidence is so much higher, it's just a math thing. We will see more hospitalizations and we will see more deaths. And while a large majority of people in our community are personally at low risk from serious complications from COVID-19, although I'll highlight that we are seeing that a lot of infected people do have long-standing problems and symptoms. But besides that, many people in our community can, feel fairly certain because they're young and healthy that they won't die. But what the healthy people in our community do, that affects the risk of our vulnerable people. And so when our community disease prevalence rises, we will see people in our community who die. The individual who died was a generally healthy person, was not a member of one of our vulnerable populations, such as our nursing home. So this was, unfortunately, an example of where regular community members are at risk for serious complications and even death from a COVID infection.
Now, what does this rise in cases mean for the citizens of Route County here? I mean, like, do we change the level of restrictions that are on us, or do we just maintain the same ones that we're doing? Or
Right. So over the course of summer, the state created a regime, if you will, of levels of restrictions or opening. And this was based on best knowledge about disease state and then what things might be effective in mitigating that. We had tried to move to level one in the safer at home regime here a month or so ago, because at that point our numbers looked, well, we did. We fit that level. But the last 2 weeks have proven that we are not at level one. And this week, the state health department did talk to us, and we are now officially in level two at safer at home, which has some differences for church gatherings and a little bit with the restaurant world and other things. But I think the thing we really need to be attentive to is that with our numbers now rising, we are actually hitting the mark for the safer at home level three level. And so, as you and I are talking, I think everybody needs prepared that the next week we might turn to a level three safer at home county. And that's going on throughout the state. We're not unique in that. But this is serious news and serious business now. And I think we're well past the point where just beating the drum about education is going to do the trick. We have to have action, and we're now reaching a serious point where we need to be proactive. We're no longer, I think, with the luxury of kind of waiting another month and see where we end up. We know that our actions with COVID often aren't manifested in a change in disease rate for at least 2 to 3 weeks. So you have to predict a little bit. what we're going to do. And it appears now with this, clearly sustained rise over 3 weeks, it's what we're seeing in the state. It's what we're seeing nationally. That's the direction this is going. It is now time to act.
Do you feel as though, and this is just opinion based, do you feel as though this is just kind of a reflection of guideline fatigue? Like we're just kind of all just getting tired of wearing the face masks and in public and not communicate that not coming together in the community and throwing parties and stuff like this. Is it coming from the fatigue, or is it just the disease is just spreading more?
I would say it comes from, yes, fatigue. I would say it comes from being at a place where people are feeling forced to not just pay attention to COVID, they've got to pay attention to their livelihood and various life things. I think it comes from a place where some people just don't believe it's that serious, or perhaps they don't believe that their actions necessarily impact the health and even life of other people. I think it comes from a point of where we still have a lot of things we don't understand about this disease. And so we're struggling. But to that point, we've got good evidence that if we do the things, the social distancing, the wear a mask, stay home if you're sick, wash your hands, get tested if you get symptoms, that those things can really dramatically decrease the rate of transmission. Yes, it's been a long haul. We're all tired of wearing masks. We're tired of all the restrictions, but we've got to slog this out a little bit longer. I would offer a ray of hope in this, and that I do think a vaccine is coming around the corner pretty quickly now. We've had many communications from the state health department to get ready for that. I think we've all seen the national news that some of these trials will presumably be wrapping up here at the end of November, early December. So, in theory, we will get a federal approval of a vaccine or more vaccines sometime in December. And at that point, it will be due to, or it will be, relying on then the vaccine getting produced and disseminated. So there are 4 types of vaccines that are predominantly being investigated. The federal government initiated a program some time ago called Operation Warp Speed. And so with each of these vaccine types, there's at least 2 companies focused on that type. It's kind of a horse race, if you will. And, the hope is that we'll have several winners. But each of these tests may offer different benefits or disadvantages. The first vaccine that I expect to see out of the gate will be the Pfizer vaccine, which is a messenger RNA vaccine. So it's possible we may start to see supplies of those, pretty quickly here, because the company's already made some. But we're just kind of waiting for that approval. And so my message to the community is one of trust but verify. I have high trust in our country's vaccine production system. I mean, look at smallpox and polio. We eradicated those with vaccines. We have numerous effective and safe vaccines now. But I think we all want to know that whatever vaccine comes out is both effective and safe. And so for myself and for our community, I know I will be personally looking at, those 2 factors so that I can, be able to make my claim to the community that what we're getting for vaccine is safe and effective.
Dr. Harrington, thank you so much for taking time once again to join me on the air this morning. I really appreciate you.
Yep. Take care, Eric. Bye-bye.
Guys, now is the time to step up and do your part even more than ever. With the cases on the rise, only you can put out a forest fire, and it is up to you to stop this spread. Do your part. Before then, though, stay tuned. We have more show coming up right after this.